Welcome, Joanna, to an episode of the Radical RMT podcast. I'm really excited to be speaking with you today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Krista.
Well, I want to start off, when I read your bio, you are an Olympic weightlifting champion, correct?
Not in the Olympics, but we call it Olympic style weightlifting. Yes, because it's a sport in the Olympics as opposed to some other kind of forms of weightlifting. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So, and I did know that difference, but it just, I wouldn't come out right. So, can you explain what I did love about learning more about your experience was that you reminded me that you're never too old to learn something new. Can you describe what your experience was like?
Yeah, well, I wasn't introduced to this sport and in fact, to anything fitness wise until I was in my 30s. I found my way to it just by chance after I had had 2 kids. And I had always been athletic, like an athletic family that likes to play sports. And but I was never really serious about any sports. I played soccer recreationally, and but after I had 2 kids, my body just completely changed. And in many ways, I was just led by maybe in some ways vanity, but I think most of all, I didn't feel like myself in my body. I just felt different. And this is a long time ago now, but so I remember that I first joined a gym, which I had never done, like a mainstream gym. And, they gave me my intro, and I just kind of felt so foreign in there. It was like treadmills and machines and mirrors. And it was so not what, home.
Right.
It just was not, it wasn't for me. And so somebody told me about this kind of specialized little fitness facility. And I went and checked it out, and it was like strength training with, barbells and dumbbells and body weight stuff. And it was fun. And that's where I was first introduced to Olympic style weightlifting. Although in the beginning, I don't even think I knew that's what it was. I didn't necessarily know the names of the lifts or anything. So eventually I found a coach specifically in Olympic style weightlifting. And I was 34 years old at the time. And so that's when I started, which in the sport, you're already a master's level, which means the old people.
Okay.
At the year you turn 35, you're considered old, So,
Okay.
so I entered the sport as, a quote unquote old person. And I did my first competition just a few months into starting the sport, and I just got hooked. I just completely got hooked. I think I got like 3rd place or something, which just seemed profound when I had just started this thing. And and I've been doing it ever since. And have since won the Masters National Championship in the US and continue to lift and compete.
Amazing. What are some of the lessons you've learned from that experience?
Oh, I fell in love with it because, first of all, just getting stronger, simply stronger. I found, it changed my life. Actually, it was sort of a prompt, like a catalyst for me, leaving my very well-established career and selling my home and moving to a new place with 2 young children. It really sparked a lot in me. I think getting stronger helped me feel just so empowered on the inside and outside, right? It was just outside physically, but really helped me inside. But then on a daily basis, like, why do I continue to do this? It is such a challenge every day. So this sport, there's powerlifting is a different sport, and that's very strength-based. It's strength. Olympic style weightlifting is very, very technical. So it involves speed, power, strength, and really technique. And so every single day that you approach the barbell, it's always a question of, can I do this? Can I do this well right now in this moment? It's just a challenge every single day that is, I just think it's played out in every aspect of my life, doing something that scares you every single day, I think really benefits one.
Yeah.
You learn that I mean, what's the worst you could happen is you miss it. You have to break ideas of perfectionism. I mean, it will never be perfect. You might get one perfect lift out of 100, and then you just go right back and try and do it again, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you require a lot of focus, no matter what's happening in your day. It sort of seems like the perfect activity to just kind of zone in. And if it is about technique and it's not just about throwing the weight around, right? It just seems like it would just help you to zero in your focus, forget about what is happening in the outside world, and focus on those technical steps. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, you're right. It's the focus, and that focus of bringing your whole body, nervous system, mind, like all together, you know, connected. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So as we get into this episode, I'm sure, like I've given your intro, but I'm sure people are still like, so what are we here for? What's Joanna going to bring us? You're not a massage therapist, but you have a background in physical fitness, and then obviously you've taught it, but then you've also you experience in your own body, and then like I said in the intro, you've like been a teacher, you're like a life, like you're an educator, like that's what you like to do. But can you tell me about, which will lead into the reason why you're here and what we're going to talk about today? Can you tell me about a particular Sunday that really changed everything for you?
Yeah. Well, so I just mentioned that, that getting into strength training and that kind of sport changed my life. And so I mentioned that I up and left my career. So I was a high school teacher, which had really been my calling. I was not running away from that by any means. But I did decide to make a big shift in my life and move to a new area, tried to find that kind of training, the weightlifting that I was doing in this new area where I lived, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So although that it had not been my intention to ever start a business, I started this business because I went, it doesn't exist here. I want it to exist here. It changed my life for the better. People here need this, and I want a place for myself too. And that's actually how I started my business. And I think that is parallel to so many people in health and wellness, period, is we go through our own transformations and go, this is amazing and other people need this, So started this business, a gym essentially, with zero experience in business, none, just threw my whole heart into it. And I was a single parent of 2 young kids at the time. And fortunately or unfortunately, it took off. I mean, it really did. I opened and I had, people started coming, and I was running the whole thing myself, everything. And pretty much all of my money was going to childcare so I could be at work, and I think it was probably about the Sunday you refer to. I think it was probably about 6 months, maybe 5 months into the business, starting very early on. I'm responsible for every single hour it's open. I'm responsible to be there to teach the classes. I'm responsible to, keep the place clean and set up properly, close it out, everything. And I only had 1 day off a week. We were open Monday through Saturday. So Sundays were my only day off. And this one Sunday, I'm just like lying on the floor, just relaxing, I'm in this patch of sunlight to try to, feel warm and relaxed. And I see on my body, I mean, first of all, I didn't feel well. And I see on my body, I'm like breaking out in this rash. And I'm going, what's going on? And I start to feel nauseous. And I'm going, this is not normal. And I was actually concerned, I was worried about something, really serious. I was concerned about something really serious. I called this friend of mine who is she's an Ayurvedic, practitioner. So not mainstream medicine. And she comes over and says, I think we should take you to the emergency room, which was shocking to me because she was just not, somebody who would say, go to the regular doctor. And she did. She took me there, and they start running these tests. And I'm there just lying in this bed, and they're taking blood and they're doing this and they're asking me all these questions. I mean, they're looking for like tropical diseases, what I might be exposed to. It's just one thing after another, and they're coming up with nothing. And a few hours in, I realize, oh my goodness, this is just stress. This is just my body manifesting the stress that I'm under.
Right.
I really felt like there was no relief in sight, right? I had this one day off, and then tomorrow I got to like start the whole thing again.
Yeah.
And that was my big wake up call, right? That I had to actually learn how to, I mean, I saw other people have businesses and aren't in the emergency room from stress. You know, I have to learn how to actually run this as a business. And that's when I set about learning the business side of things, which turned out to be a wonderful experience. I happened to kind of fall in love with systems. I had formerly been a teacher, right? And curriculum design had been my specialty. I would write and publish and share curriculum. I would teach other teachers how to teach. And so that's how business became to me, is almost like writing curriculum in terms of business systems and creating step-by-step processes for the business to run smoothly and easily, so that, I wasn't breaking out from stress.
For sure. So then that's how and why you're here today to teach us some of your systems, so that as massage therapists, business owners, we can, healthcare practitioners, if you're a body worker, like any of those areas, any business to run more efficiently, and ideally allow you to step away, and then the systems take care of the sort of the day-to-day goings on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. If I might say, eventually I built that business to fully run without me. My intention was to sell it. And, that's what a sellable business is one where it can run without an owner doing everything, And so that's what I did. And I do specifically now work with body workers and somatic therapists, somatic practitioners, trauma practitioners, and on the business side of their businesses, helping them develop, the systems to have a business that serves their clients more powerfully, because that's part of this too. And serve them so that they can be living the lives that they want, right? That their cups are filled, even as they serve others.
Yeah, no, I love that. So let's get into one of the areas that we're going to talk about is consultations with our clients. So if we use massage therapists as an example, we have an intake. Perhaps we'll have like a meeting or a phone conversation prior to that. What would you like to talk about? The note that I have that we want to talk about is how to do a great consultation that enrolls high quality, committed clients.
Yeah. Okay.
So
let's dive in. Well, let me say that I, as a weightlifter and as somebody who really cares about my health, I have been the client of many different body workers, many different amazing body workers. I get massage on a regular basis, and other forms of body work. So I've experienced all the pluses and minuses as a client, as well as now being a business strategist for so many other body workers. So I think particularly in massage therapy, but really in all kind of these health and wellness fields that I'm talking about, we suffer. I would say it's like rampant in massage therapists. We suffer from what I call the freelancer trap. And the freelancer trap is my definition of it is we start our businesses and get stuck in this, what we see around us, it seems to be the norm, is that we, are happy to get any client who comes along, and we treat ourselves, we act like we're freelancers where we just have this service. And what is it that you want? So you come to me, Krista, and I say, oh yeah, you call me up and say you're interested in services, and I say, great, what are you looking for? What do you want? Or if I offer, different styles of massage, maybe there's, deep tissue, Swedish, Thai, whatever it is. And I say, oh, I offer all these. What do you want? And what I help practitioners do is make that shift away from that freelancer trap into actually really trying to serve your clients more deeply and more powerfully. In which case, if we do that, the question is not what they want, it's what they need. Okay. And they don't necessarily know what they need. And so that's the purpose of the consultation, is for you as the practitioner to assess this person and prescribe for them what they need. So you're not asking them, what do you want? Or here are my options. You're actually, in the case of the consultation process I teach, you're interviewing them. It's like the opposite of what people in the freelancer trap think, which is they let somebody sit and interview them as the practitioner, but you are interviewing your prospective client. And you're doing a number of things in that interview. One is identifying whether this person is a great fit for your services. And that is a process that you need to, this is backing up a bit, but this is a process. I'm sure that you've talked about this a bit, but identifying who your ideal clients are is pretty important. And the way you do that is you want to identify who are the people I love working with and that see the best results from my services. Those are your ideal clients. And you want to really identify what are the qualities they have. And a lot of times when you do that, identify the qualities they have, you're going to find a particular, what people call a niche. I don't usually call it that. I just call it the bullseye of your target market, but you may find that, right? Like I've worked with massage therapists who just work with runners, or just, their ideal clients are all kind of middle-aged weekend warriors. So really identifying that stuff. But there's also another layer to that. And that is like personality characteristics and how they think and how they feel. And that is relevant as well. So in your interviewing process, you're identifying whether that's somebody that's the right fit for you, as well as what are the problems that they're coming with that they want to solve, or what are the goals that they're coming with that they want to achieve. And then you're giving them your actual expert recommendation for what it is they need to achieve those goals or solve those problems. Right. And so the consultation, it's more than simply an intake. It's really, and in fact, the way I teach it, it happens usually an intake. When I hear practitioners talk about an intake, it happens after someone has signed up, right? This is before someone has signed up. This is a free consultation model. And you use it to identify, again, whether this person is right for you, make the recommendation for your services for what they need, and then enroll them in those services. And so we haven't talked about this previously, Krista, but I teach practitioners how to design programs or treatment plans rather than selling session by session. That changes everything. So in the consultation process, it's really worth giving that free time because you get so many people that enroll in something that could be as long as 6 months or 12 months, depends. It's all designed by the practitioner. It's all based on who your clients are and what you believe they truly need. I can give you examples of what they look like, what that looks like. But for me, for example, as a weightlifter, I don't compete frequently now, but there were years where I really competed frequently. And, like I said, at the national level, and I would see these amazing body workers, and I was really in it as an athlete. And what I wanted was for them to say, okay, what are we doing over the next 6 months? Like, when are your competitions? What's happening? And I wanted them to create a plan for me, right? That would say, you come in this many times per month or this many times per week, and here's what we're going to work on, and this and this and this. But they never did that, right? It was always that session by session approach. And it was like each time I'd come in for a session, they'd ask, what's going on with you today? or how's your body feeling today? And
Yep.
it would always just be addressing the right now versus the long-term approach. Or I might come in and say, I have a competition in 6 weeks. And they'd say, okay, what's going on today? So even if I was bringing those long-term goals, I was never being provided a long-term approach and outlook to what our work was together. So that's what I promote. I think the people, the practitioners I work with, it's been amazing for them. It's a whole different experience working with clients who have committed to a long-term process and a long-term journey together than it is even every practitioner. I'm sure everyone listening has had that one client who stayed with them, or a couple clients who have stayed with them for years and years and years, right? It's still even different than that. So those ones you love because they're so committed, right? It's even different than that because you actually know they're in it no matter what. And as I just interviewed somebody who's worked with me, a few years later to talk about what the long-term, how it's been long-term. And what he talked about was, he talked about how, he's a body worker, but this is really relevant to massage therapy, how when he was on a session by session approach, even when people were coming in regularly, he still felt like in the session, I have to make them feel better right now.
Yeah. I think that's a lot. Yeah. A lot, very common. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's this desire to please that's behind this desire to be accepted, but really underneath it is so they'll come back.
Yep.
Right? And when somebody has enrolled in a long-term service, you actually get to let go of that and just give them what they need, not what's going to make them instantly feel better right now. And the long-term approach may be different than that short-term relief right now. So a lot of practitioners say, oh, I finally get to really get to the root cause and address the root cause. And they understand that's what we're doing,
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I love this conversation. I'm furiously writing notes. And I want to address any listeners that I really hope that you haven't tuned out or been like, oh, that doesn't apply to me. I can't make a program. I can't create a package. So that might also be a word that we could hear in some of the massage franchises as well, that they create these packages. But I want you to listen with an open mind, and I want you to listen outside the box as well, right? As a massage therapist, a body worker listening, I really think it's important that you take some of these strategies into consideration. Maybe we can't do them exactly as Joanna is describing, but she is probably more than happy to get in touch with you, and you can get in touch with her about how you can make it work in your business, no matter where you are. Because I really hope that you didn't just tune out and be like, well, that doesn't apply. I can't create a program. I can't, we can only do what we can do in one session, and then, it's on to the next one. So I hope that makes sense. But I just hope that people continue to listen and learn to what Joanna has to say, and see how it can be applied in your practice. And if you're not sure, I know Joanna can help you see that, how it'll work in your practice as well. So please, Carrie, maybe on that note, do you want to touch on you have a free gift for the listeners, which is a free masterclass. So would you be able to describe the masterclass and how we can get that link as well?
Sure. Well, the masterclass goes deeper into many of the pieces I was just talking about, which is, identifying who your ideal clients are, designing the services that they really need, and then enrolling them in their services. That's what we call the sales process. And so that's available for you at joannasapir.com/the-radical-RMT.
Yes.
It's called the client. Yeah. It's called the Client Champion Formula Masterclass. It's pretty in-depth, but really juicy. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I think it would be really great. I can't wait to look into it myself. So carrying on with like this conversation, I do have a question about maybe some of the obstacles that some of your clients might come up against. If we're used to this freelance model, this one-off, we get the client comes into us, and then even some body workers have trouble with the rebook, right? So they even have trouble asking for that rebooking. And so then what are some of the challenges that you've seen with some of your clients, or mindset shifts, or things that have had to happen in order for them to see this bigger picture of now it's a program that you have your client on? And I think this is a great idea. And I would love to explore that more.
Yeah. Well, so rebooking and cancellations, I'll mention, become moot when you enroll people in a program. Again, you're designing the service based on what they need, whether it's to achieve particular milestones, or like I said, particular goals, or solve some particular problems. I will just note, I'm going to go backwards a little bit to you talking about like, how can we make this work? And you mentioned packages.
Yeah.
And so I do want to both differentiate what I'm talking about from what people traditionally think of as packages, and also kind of give some tips for anybody who is currently offering that kind of way of delivering services to start to progress it a bit more. So I use the word packages, programs, and treatment plans interchangeably, but so if I use those here, that's what I'm referring to. But many people think of packages in terms of like, oh, you get a discount if you buy 10 sessions at once, or 5 sessions at once. So that's pretty standard in the industry. I want to note that that's still really different than a program or a programmatic approach, because it's still just 5 sessions or 10 sessions. The client gets to book those whenever they want. You know, they bought them in the pack because they're getting a discount. I actually would say, don't discount your services. Really, you don't need to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And so if you are currently offering packages like that, or you're in a setting where packages are being sold, you start to think, my tip is to start to think, if somebody bought a pack of, 5 sessions or 10 sessions, start to think, well, what would I want to give them? What do they need? What can I give them over 5 sessions that is a progressive approach? What are the pieces that they need, rather than it's just a session times 5, right? Randomly coming in. The other thing is, what makes a program or treatment plan different is you're prescribing as well the frequency for people to come in. And that gets to be based, not, again, all of this, the big mindset shift here is, what do your clients actually need? What do your clients actually need? You have expertise that they don't. 100%. I'm even in the field of health and wellness. I don't know what my soft tissue feels like. It's not my expertise, period. Like, it doesn't matter what I say I want. It's you are the expert to tell me, what is it that I need? How frequently do I need to be seen? And what do you believe needs to be addressed here in my body? And that's what we're talking about when we talk about programs. So you can start thinking of that even from the beginning. And you can start, even if you don't have the capability of enrolling people in programs, you can still just start telling the truth. I actually think that's what it is telling the truth to your clients or prospective clients about what they need. And so telling the truth is, here's what I see is going on, and here's what I think you need to do to address it. And if it's a long-term outlook, you're saying that. And if it's not, you're saying just what the truth is, So that's that piece.
Yeah.
What was the other, what was the question you originally asked?
I think you have touched on it, but it's just like some of the obstacles or challenges that the massage, so you've explained, programs, packages, but then how for massage therapists, how do we shift and start to, you gave actually just a great example of how we can say it, but I feel like there still would be some hesitation. And there's a self-confidence piece there. There's certainly that. But yeah, what are some of the ways that you've helped?
Got it. So, First of all, I remember you said rebooking. Just to note, rebooking, cancellations, they just really do go away. It's not, you don't need to rebook because somebody's already booked.
Right.
And cancellations don't happen as well, because people aren't paying session by session. They're paying no matter what. So I'll just share really practical aspect is that in the system I teach with practitioners, when they enroll people, it's that, which is what happens in the consultation. So the consultation, you're laying out what you believe they need, and they are, I mean, there's a whole method to this that I teach, but they're essentially saying yes or no in that consultation, whether they want to do it. When they're a yes and they become a client, they're, giving their credit card or whatever, and the payments are all scheduled already. So they're happening, either they pay in full all at once, or they're paying monthly if it's, however you design it. And that's done automatically. They're not paying when they come in. They're not paying afterwards or, manually in any way. And so I just want to point out how much impact that has on the issue of cancellation is people don't cancel. They may need to reschedule for really legitimate reasons. And when you have committed clients at this level, it does not feel like any skin off your back to reschedule, right? Because you're not losing income. So I just want to note that. And you mentioned rebooking, and I just want to give a few examples of some body worker clients and what their initial programs look like. Because so many people that I work with anyway, clients are coming to them with particular pains or injuries or problems. Their, what we would say initial program or kind of front end program is often designed specifically to address an injury or pain or problem that's happening, right? And so sometimes that that might look like, let's say it's 3 months. I have different practitioners have different models, and that looks totally how you want it. So I know I have one body worker who in the first month, hers is 3 months, the initial one. And in the first month, she actually has clients come in twice a week. Like that's intensive, and then the second month they come in once a week. And then the third month they come in every other week. So twice in the month. So it starts to back off. And then you actually have ongoing, maintenance style services available to them. And so that again is a programmatic approach, but what that might look like is more like a 12 months at a time, again, based on your recommendation. And so it might be once a month or twice a month or weekly, whatever that is. So again, rebooking isn't there, but there might be a kind of ascending or graduating to, a maintenance level program, might be something that comes in. Now, you asked about the hesitations or the challenges and about confidence. And absolutely, that is, for anybody listening who's feeling hesitant, that is absolutely what's underneath it. What people come up with is all these excuses why it won't work, but don't necessarily acknowledge, like, that sounds scary to ask for that. And that's one of these things. I mean, just back to my story of, ending up in the emergency room, it was like I had never learned business skills. And I think probably one of the most important skills in business, and this is going to sound, people are going to hate the way this sounds, but in business, we call it sales. It's a sales process. And that is what the consultation is. There's other pieces. I have something called the predictable sales system. It's got 5 steps to it. And the consultation is the final step where people enroll. But I just want to note this, you can learn how, first of all, learning how to do sales is going to be one of the most impactful things you could learn for your business. And 2, it by no means, you can do it totally not smarmy, not pushy, completely consensual. You can do, what we call sales in a way that is not the slightest bit of the yucky sales stuff that you think when you hear that word. It can really be a meaningful process. And in fact, I know that consultations for me, it's called a discovery call, but for all my clients has ended up being one of their favorite things to do in their business. It's actually this wonderful connection point with prospective clients. And when they do enroll in your programs or packages or treatment plans, you have already created a really deep connection with them through this in-depth consultation. And even people who don't enroll, you've created a really in-depth connection with them, and they there will be people who will refer others to you, even if they
Yeah.
don't proceed with your services, because it's so totally authentic. Like you can do this very authentically. And a key piece to that is understanding you're not a freelancer. You're not doing this to try and get the sale, get the client, to try and please them. You're doing this to identify, is this somebody I can really help? That's it. Is this somebody that is the right fit for me, exactly how I work and what I offer to get the results that they're after? So it's never about convincing someone or pitching something or anything like that. It's really about connecting with them, identifying what it is they need, giving them that assessment, and offering them this path to reach the goals they're after.
Yeah, I really like the idea of this discovery call. Just from, personal experience, you do get clients that, they are just booking off a whim. You were the only one available that day at that time that worked, and they're just hoping that you're the one that's going to be able to help them. And you're also, we're also just as into it as body workers. Like we just want to help this person. And sometimes we honestly, like I know other therapists feel the same, and they might not admit it, but sometimes you feel like you do nothing, absolutely nothing. You barely scratch the surface of what's really going on. And, or maybe there was a personality clash, maybe there's just like this element that just wasn't there. And you charge that client anyway, that you've done that hour massage. You're kind of like, oh, like, I feel like, not great because this, but I've done my service, and they've done their part by like showing up and all this, and then they're never going to come back, if I sense that's like that opportunity, I will ask them based on, I'm getting more confident in my years in practice as well, that like, I know everybody's definitely not for me, and what is it that they need? And then I'll refer, but they still have to pay for the massage that they just got. So doing that discovery call kind of saves them from spending money on just trying out a massage therapist. And it's just going to save you time as well. And then in that discovery call, you could easily refer, because if there's some people that like elbows through the lungs, like that is not me. But I know the massage therapist that they can go to. So that would save them that time and money. And so that like just even doing that consultation would be really, that you'd figure that out more than likely. So yeah. Awesome.
And I'm going to share some details about the sales process I teach. Mm-hmm. And so what you're saying, discovery call for a massage therapist with an in-person business, the system that I help body workers implement in their businesses, there is a call, and that is actually before the consultation. And so that's what we call a pre-qualification. And so that's where you're identifying, it's a fairly short call, so it's not as in-depth as the actual consultation. But what it's doing is making sure that you're not spending the time and energy in a consultation with somebody who's an obvious not fit. Okay. So when you're talking about elbows to the lungs, if in the pre-qualification call, so there's still a little bit of an interview process there, mm-hmm. and you are asking specific questions that identify the obvious non-fits. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's saying, I'm looking for somebody to get as deep as possible, and I've tried these other people and they're not doing it hard enough, it doesn't hurt, and that's a non-fit for you, right, you don't even invite them to a consultation.
Okay.
But you're also not opening it up. I just want to say to everybody, never ask, in my system anyway, you're never asking, what are you looking for?
Okay.
You're opening with, tell me what's going on with your body. It's tell me why you're reaching out, so that you're hearing about what's going on with them and prompting that. And you can ask questions about that. But so that pre-qualification phone call, it's a easy thing to start doing now before letting somebody book, is identifying the obvious red flags to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess one example, if I'm just thinking about my own schedule or maybe how massage therapists operate here in Canada, maybe reaching out to that new, if you see a client on your schedule that's brand new, because maybe you don't have control over the schedule, maybe they're not calling you directly, maybe they're booking through the clinic, maybe, and then I'm just throwing this out there, Joanna, please correct me or emphasize, but maybe you can take that role and call that new client, because we usually have notification in our booking calendar that says like, this is their first visit. So we could take that initiative, call that client before you get them to the clinic, they step foot in there, and then just kind of have that chit chat, what are, like, as you described, what you said, can you say that again? How you said, like,
I would say what's going on with your body? Tell me what's going on with your body, or tell me what prompted you to reach out today.
Yeah. Okay. So perfect. Yeah. So would that be something that you feel like we could implement? Because if they're not booking with our clinic directly, if we are working within a clinic environment, but then, maybe they booked through reception, but then, we can take that initiative. We look at our calendar, in advance, call that first visit client, say they decide whether they're a good fit or not, but then potentially, like, here's the risk is that you're not a good fit. Now you've got an opening on your calendar, but what's going to feel better if you're not thinking about the money though, right? Like,
yeah, I work with people specifically who have their own businesses. So I'm on the fly here, kind of trying to understand how this works. But yes, if you had the option to call them ahead of time, you could at least do a bit of the intake process and interview process then to understand, so that when they come in, you can, provide those services and already know. But what I would recommend is that, and I don't know if this is an option, is that you actually leave a little time at the end to sit down with them, tell them what you noticed in their body, and make a recommendation for what their ongoing services should be. That's what I would do.
I love that. And honestly, that is something that massage therapists in Canada, myself included, I feel like we don't take that extra time, or we have, like, say 15 minutes in between clients with, like, the model that we work with. Maybe some therapists have 30 minutes. But we usually are hands-on right up until the top of that hour. And that's a us thing. That's a me thing. That's something that I have to work on, that I need to, take hands off 10 minutes before that end of the 60-minute appointment, and get them dressed. And then they come back into the room and be that authority that, and help them educate them that 10 minutes is still part of your like experience, your treatment today. And we accept this in so many other professions, healthcare professions, but massage therapists, myself included, it's so hard to take your hands off early. And because and it might just be like, we think that the client, is in there for that 60 minutes, and they're gonna judge us if we don't use that full 60. But I think that we should be taking our hands off early and doing these treatment plans, as you've said. And even if you don't have these like programs, even like to address like the next appointment, if you're comfortable with that. Because we end at the 60 minutes as an example, and then we come back into the room and we'll do some home care with them, and we'll talk about maybe the next steps. But now we've gone into that extra 15 minutes that we need to eat, to change over the table, to clean the room, and then have a pee break and greet the other clients. So I think that is a mindset that we need to work on as collectively as massage therapists, at least in Canada, to take that extra time within that treatment time to be hands off and explain what are the next steps.
And, you can say that if you're going to have the phone call with them ahead of time, you can tell them, okay, so when you come in, here's what I'm going to do, and and you don't say something like, I'm going to stop the massage early. You say at the end, after you're dressed again, we'll sit down and I'm going to tell you what I was able to, learn from your body and what my recommendations are for how to take care of it moving forward.
Yeah. And you're setting the
Help people.
expectation. I love that, because you are setting the expectation that this is how the treatment will run at the end. You know, we'll discuss everything. So that's awesome. What else? I want to make sure that you get as much airtime as possible. I have a question. So as massage therapists in Canada, maybe Ontario specifically, when it comes to these programs or packages, as healthcare practitioners, ethically, we are not able to charge for an appointment that hasn't happened yet. Right. So there's great insurance, you know, like massage therapy is covered under a lot of insurance benefits. So we couldn't charge, like, say, a $600 program up front, because they wouldn't, like, the treatment hasn't happened yet. So insurance won't cover it. And then ethically, we do sort of need to treat day by day, because if we've signed them up for a 6-month program, which I think is wonderful. Yes, everybody should be getting massage therapy on a regular basis. But let's say they get better. I'm using air quote, they get better in 3 sessions, and they don't feel comfortable coming back, but they're sort of enrolled in this 6-month program. Ethically speaking, it would be wrong for us to just keep them coming. There are healthcare practitioners that, you know, that do it in Canada. But I don't think massage therapists are one of them. And so can you address that? I still think there's a way that we can maybe not the hands-on time, but I think that there's home care. I think that there's remedial exercises. I think there are other programs that we can offer our clients where they're still getting more of us. And then they're obviously going to get, a better treatment. Like, they are getting a treatment plan. It just might it might not be the sessions themselves, the hands-on time that is the program, but you can offer them a program of more time with you in that home care environment, which is amazing. Because, like I already said, we kind of neglect that home care bit, because it's part of, like, we go with the hands-on time versus we don't go overtime very much. So can you give some examples, or would that work if we can't do hands-on programs, but we can create our own program to offer the client?
Yeah. All of my clients have done this. So what happens is, when they're working with me and we open it up, and the question is, what do your ideal clients truly need to address their problems or achieve their goals? Always the practitioners I'm working with are including pieces other than the hands-on time. And many of my clients are not even hands-on, but face-to-face. So always that's part of it, because this is about, how do I serve my clients best? How do I serve them, more deeply and more powerfully to get what they need? So, I've just seen so many different examples of this. Some of my practitioners have made video libraries of stretching and exercising, and it's not just like, oh, go look at the library. They actually are assigning particular things, in between certain sessions. Many of them are including different tools, I don't want to give brand names, but all the different balls there are now, and
for sure,
and fascial tools to do things, and they're teaching their clients how to use those. Those are often included, and so and many people are bringing in, I would call this different modalities, bringing in multiple modalities. The key here is that those are not offered as separate services, because it's not about, oh, do you want this? It's about giving them what they truly need. So that is absolutely incorporated. That's not to say it has to. I just want to note, some people sometimes, as is part of that kind of mindset that, the confidence thing, some people feel like, oh, well, if I'm offering this program and it's going to cost this much, and that sounds so much bigger, right, than a single session, I need to pack it with all these things. And I just want to say, like, that's not what this is about. More is not better. I mean, truly, more is not better.
It's too overwhelming for the client, and confused people do nothing.
Right. Exactly. Like, you are not trying to pile on things. You're trying to make this very doable for people. And in fact, just to go back to that sales process, that's part of the sales process as well, is both identifying their level of commitment, and that includes time. Do you have the time for this? But also aligning them with the level of commitment needed, and that happens in that consultation. It's an important process, is really getting somebody's commitment. And so the commitment isn't simply to it's really not about the money or anything. It's the commitment to do you truly want to address this issue and do what it takes? And here's in my program what that takes. And that involves some time. So many of my clients, part of their pre-qualification is something this does involve 10 minutes a day of doing your own exercises that I teach you how to do. Do you have the time to commit to be able to do that? And so they're saying yes ahead of time, which is when people make a commitment out loud like that, that is a huge step forward. It doesn't mean they're automatically going to do it, but by saying, yes, I'm committing to that, you've got them in, and then can support them best as you can to help make that happen. So yes to including other things. You asked about the question, which I want to address, when somebody, in air quotes you had was get better, when somebody gets better early. Yes. And so first of all, this whole model that I teach is not about getting people to pay more. That's just not what it's about, right? It's about giving them what they need and serving them
getting more results. Yeah.
And so if somebody truly got, quote unquote, better, that, I said earlier something about you're just telling the truth. That's my number one thing here is tell the truth. And if that's the truth, then you figure out, then it ends or whatever. However, this generally doesn't happen because you've designed your programs specifically with your ideal people in mind. And when you enroll your ideal people, your program matches exactly what they need. That doesn't mean that sometimes it can't be a little off. You might be a little off sometimes. So I have one really excellent bodyworker client who in his consultation, he does the interview, but he does an actual physical assessment as well. And he is assessing himself as the practitioner, based on all the information he's just gathered, both verbally and physically, what he thinks their initial treatment plan is. And so usually these are all systematized, right? It's kind of one thing, but in his case, he's either telling them 6 weeks, 9 weeks, or 12 weeks. And so he's having to do that assessment of, what do I think of this program? Of this problem that they're coming to me with, and all my experience with it. And it does require you being experienced, and you may make mistakes sometimes. He may say, I think this initial treatment plan needs to be 9 weeks, and maybe they're better in 6, and he got it wrong that time, in which case you say, this is wonderful. I got it wrong. It didn't take 9 weeks. It took 6, and you do whatever you need to do, to end it. And in some cases you may have not made it enough. And at the end of 6 weeks, but you can just say that, again, just telling the truth and being honest. You can say that in the beginning. This is what I think. It's possible that it'll take longer. It's possible it'll take less, but this is my best estimate right now. And you have the systems. This isn't about making it up for every single person. You have the systems. That's a piece of this as well, where, where it is, in his case, 6, 9, or 12 weeks, so it's not made up on the spot. I'll say that, it's systematized based on who your ideal clients are.
Yeah. And that was going to be another question that I had, or another point that I wanted to make. I'm sure we have listeners that are well, I'm good at so many things, or I'm not even, or maybe they're not sure what they're this sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to create a program for everything that I see come into my clinic. But as you mentioned, real early in the episode, there are probably people, people that you love to treat, who are they? What are their characteristics? And you also are getting the best results of, and then people refer to you. And for whatever reason, you've got 6 rotator cuffs on your schedule that day. And you're because you're really good at it, or it's carpal tunnel or low back pain, or if you go back in your client history, you're going to find some common thread, a reason why people are coming to you, what you love to treat, I think is a big element of it as well. And then, where you're getting those results. So if you think back on that, then you only have to create this program. You just start with the one program for this particular type of client. And then chances are you already know all of the exercises you would give them because you've been giving them for years in like little pieces. So you already have all of that material put together. And then Joanna can just give you like that template to like, how do you put it into action? So yeah, I think that's great, because it could sound overwhelming. It could sound like, I don't know what I'm good at. I like to treat everything. Like, no, you don't. Like, none of us do. Like, there are certain things that I don't want to treat. But there are certain things that I am really good at, but it's just easy. So yeah, definitely consider that.
Yeah,
Finish.
you nailed that. You said everything I would have said.
Okay, good. So I want to close up, but is there anything else that we can add to the conversation? Joanna, I think this has been great. I definitely feel like there is a lot of action that massage therapists can take from this. And plus you have the masterclass. So the masterclass is Joanna Sapir /the radical RMT. So this is, something that she's offering to you, so you can get a feel for her teaching style, maybe start to get something into action yourself and then take it to the next level. And if you have questions about, what we've talked about today, I mean, as Joanna said, she has a discovery call. So, if you want to book in with her and just ask a question and see if you're a right fit for her programming, then please do so. And if you have anything that you want to talk about with me as an Ontario massage therapist, or clarify anything, agree, disagree, then please let me know as well. But Joanna, is there anything else that we can add to wrap it up?
I mean, I think this was a good, juicy conversation. I will just say that, if you look at your business and identify all the things that are like a pain in the butt about it, whether it's, clients canceling at the last minute, or even not at the last minute, clients canceling, or clients coming in and trying to tell you how to do what they want, or, all those problems, I will say are basically eliminated by following this model. And I'm very aware that it takes a tremendous amount of courage. So it's a decision that some people make to step forward with that courage and really streamline their business. And it's amazing once they do.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be a guest on the podcast today. I look forward to massage therapists reaching out to you and implementing some of this. I look forward to taking action on some of these elements as well. And I just hope you have a really awesome day.
Thank you. It's really great being here, Krista. Thank you for the opportunity.
So